Okay, we are picking up on Ches Amud Beis. We are 1, 2, 3, 4. We're about 8 lines down from the top of the Amud. We're at the 2 dots. So we're just finishing up right before we get to the next Mishnah. So Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, Af B'Sfaram Lo Hitu Yichtavu El Yivanis. That even with the Sefer Torah, let's call it a Sefer Torah, but with Tanakh, they said you can only do it in Greek. Amar Rav Avo, Amar Rav Yochanan, Halacha Rav Shimon Gamliel, that the halachas are Rav Shimon Gamliel, that a Sefer Torah can be written in Greek, and that's actually the way that we paskin that you could write a Sefer Torah in Greek, only Greek. But the Rambam says that nowadays we don't know what the Greek language is. It's not whatever we have or we see now. That's not what it was referring to, so we don't do that anymore. My time with Rav Shimon Gamliel. What's the reason Rav Shimon Gamliel says that Greek but no other language? Where did he get that from? So Amar Kra Yaft Elokim Liyefes V'Yishkam Ba'alei Shem. That what does that mean? Devarav Shel Yefes Yiba'alei Shem. That the language of Yefes shall be in the tense of Shem. Shem is representing the Bnei Yisrael, and Yefes is representing Greek. So Gemara says Ve'ema Gomer Magug, but Yefes also had other children. Maybe it's referring to their languages, and that's where you're able to write the language of the Sefer Torah. Amar Rav Chia Barabba Hainu Taima Dichsiv Yaft Elokim Liyefes. So what does it mean? Yafyaso Shel Yefes Yiba'alei Shem. That the beauty of Yefes shall be in the tense of Shem, in the words of Torah, and again, Greek was considered to be a very, very beautiful language. So that's where you get that you would be able to translate the Torah into Greek. But again, nowadays that is not applicable. Okay, we're up to the third last Mishnah. Again, we're going through all the Ein Bein this to that, except for 1 or 2 items. So the next Mishnah says, Ein Bein Kol Meshuach B'Shemen HaMishcha L'Meruba B'Gadim El Apar Haba L'Kol Mitzvos. There are 2 ways that a Kohen can become the Kohen Gadol. There's either the ways that Moshe Rabbeinu had a Shemen HaMishcha, he had this anointing oil that would be dabbed onto the Kohen, and that would make him the Kohen Gadol. And then the other way that a person can become a Kohen Gadol, that the Kohen can become a Kohen Gadol, is he would be called Mechusar B'Gadim, that he would put on, instead of wearing the 4 articles of clothing that the Kohen would wear, there was an additional 4 articles of clothing, so he would wear 8 articles of clothing. It's called Mechusar B'Gadim, and by doing that, he would become the Kohen Gadol. So it used to be that the Kohen Gadol was always anointed, and then in the days of King of Yeshayahu HaMelech, they hid away this oil, and then afterwards, all the rest of the Kohanim Gedolim, until after the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash, was all done through Mechusar B'Gadim, with the Kohen that would get the additional clothing. So the Mishnah says there's no difference between a Kohen that became the Kohen Gadol through the anointing oil versus a Kohen that became the Kohen Gadol because Meruba B'Gadim, that he put on the additional 4 articles of clothing, except for the Parabal Al Kol Mitzvos. That the halacha is that if the Kohen Gadol paskins something, and he paskins it incorrectly. So, for example, Rashi says, let's say he paskins it that you're able to eat on Yom Kippur. He incorrectly, he comes up with Allah that you're able to eat on Yom Kippur. So he doesn't do it intentionally. He incorrectly said that you're able to eat on Yom Kippur. So the halacha is that he's chayiv kares in that situation. If he would have done it on purpose, he'd be chayiv kares. So now he brings what's called a par habal kol mitzvos. So a Kohen, an anointed Kohen, would bring a bull as part of his korban, as opposed to if there was a Kohen that just got it from the Merubim Nechasim that he got the additional clothing, he would bring just a goat. So that's the only difference between them. And then the next part of the Mishnah says, Ein bein Kohen mishamish Kohen she'avar. There's no difference between the Kohen that served to the Kohen that took his place. And what is that referring to? That's referring to that they always had the Kohen Gadol would always have just like in Broadway they have the understudy. Okay, they have the understudy. So there was someone that would be there just in case something happened to the Kohen Gadol. They would have like a backup Kohen Gadol who would fill his place up. So most commonly, what could happen is that let's say the Kohen Gadol became Tameh, which would be it's very possible that he would become Tameh. So they would have someone else that would come in who would become the Kohen Gadol. So there's no difference between the regular Kohen Gadol and the person that replaced him until the first Kohen is able to come back in and become the Kohen Gadol. Elapar Yom Kippurim Vasir Seif, except that on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol brings his own personal korban that he brings, which he's bringing for his own family. So he's bringing that, and also the chavit. And there was a korban that he would bring every single day of the year that was consisted of flour. Only one person could bring that korban. So that's the difference between them. That the acting Kohen Gadol, meaning the regular Kohen Gadol, would be the one that would bring that, and the Kohen that was appointed in his place would not bring it unless he happened to be the only one that was able to do it at that time. I think of it like when you have the president it becomes incapacitated. So the 25th Amendment. So he comes as, let's say he's temporarily incapacitated. He's not able to do it. So the person when the vice president, he becomes president, and I think that they still call him the president after the president is reinstated again. But so it's the same concept, kaviyachol, that you have that once he was a Kohen Gadol, he's always referred to as a Kohen Gadol, just there's limits in what he's going to be able to do after that. Okay, so the Gemara says, but in regards when we say that between a Kohen Mashuach and a Merubah Begadim, but as far as that goes, they're the same. That Zev Zashavin, excuse me, they're both the same. That they both, in terms of bringing the Par Yom Kippurim and the Asir Seifa, that they're the same. That they are able to do it. So the Gemara says, "Mesisin Lok Rav Meir." Our mission is not follow like Rav Meir. Rav Meir, because if it was going like Rav Meir, Hatanya, we learn differently. He says, Merubah Begadim, maybe Par Habal Kol Mitzvos. That the Merubah Begadim, the Kohen Gadol that became Kohen Gadol because he put on the 4 additional articles of clothing, he does bring a Par Kol Mitzvos, which is not like our Mishnah said. Our Mishnah says that only the regular Kohen could do it, not the one that was coming in, only the one that was anointed could do it, not the one that's coming in from the additional clothing. Divrei Rav Meir. Chacham says that he does not bring it. So, my time with Rav Meir. What's the reason Rav Meir says that the Kohen Gadol, even if he's just Kohen Gadol because of Merubah Begadim, that he's still able to bring the Parabah Kol Mitzvos? So Gemara says, it says in the pasuk Mashiach that the anointed Kohen is supposed to bring that carbon. So only Elam Mashiach B'Shem Mishcha. So I only know that, again, this is going according to Rav Meir. I only know that the Kohen HaMashiach, the anointed Kohen, is the one that brings that carbon. Merubah Begadim Minayin. How do I know that if he became Kohen Gadol because he put on the additional clothing, how do I know that he's also going to bring that type of carbon? Talmud Lomar HaMashiach. There's an extra hay in the pasuk. So the extra hay is telling you that not only the anointed Kohen is going to bring it, but also the Kohen that became the Kohen Gadol through the additional clothing, he's also going to do it. So so how do we establish what our Mishnah was talking about to Lo Rav Meir? We said it's not going like Rav Meir, because Rav Meir says that you could do it, and the Mishnah said that you can't. Ema Seifa. So the second part of our Mishnah says, there's no difference between the Kohen Gadol who was the acting Kohen Gadol and the Kohen Gadol that took his place in case something happened to him. Except again that on Yom Kippur only the Kohen Gadol brings this carbon for his family, and the chavitin, this carbon ephah that the Kohen Gadol will bring every single day. But regards everything else that's going on with their halachos, we're going to say they're going to be the same. And that follows like Rav Meir said. The Tanya. Let's say again that there was some psul that happened to the Kohen Gadol, and just think for the simplicity's sake, he became tamei. So rishon chozul avodaso. Then when he's ready, then and they appointed another Kohen to serve underneath him, the one that was in the that was standing by. So then when he's ready to act, when the first Kohen becomes is able to serve as Kohen Gadol again, Rishon Chozul Avodah. So the first Kohen Gadol comes back and he starts doing the avodah. Sheni Kol Mitzvos Kahuna Gadol Olav, and the second one has all the mitzvahs of the Kohen Gadol still on him. What does that mean? It means, for example, that when he does do some avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, that he still wears a clothing. It means that he can't let his hair grow long. It means that he's only able to marry a basula. So all the halachos that apply to Kohen Gadol apply to the Kohen Gadol standby as well once he had served. Divrei Rav Meir. Rabbi Yossi Omer Rishon Chozul Avodah, so that the first Kohen goes back to what he's doing, and Sheni Eino Roi Lo LeKohen Gadol Lo LeKohen Hedyot. He's kind of like in limbo. He's not able to become a Kohen. He's not able to be the Kohen Gadol anymore, and at the same time, he's not able to go back to become just like a quote unquote regular Kohen. Why not? And it's going to explain why. Rabbi Yossi, why? Rabbi Yossi ben Ulam b'Tzipor. There was a story with him. She'erabo psul b'Kohen Gadol umino tachtav, that there was a psul that happened with the Kohen Gadol, and they put another Kohen underneath him. Uba ma'atzil fnei Chachamim, and then they came before the Chachamim to ask, what should we do with this second Kohen who was acting Kohen Gadol and who's now he's going back into the regular Kohen Gadol is coming back to fill his place. So what do you do with him? So and they said, Rishon Chozul Avodah, so the first one goes back to doing the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. Sheni Einu Roi Lo LeKohen Gadol Lo LeKohen Hedyot, and the second one again can't be the Kohen Gadol, and it can't be a regular Kohen. Why? Kohen Gadol, he can't be the Kohen Gadol Mishum Eva, because it's going to generate jealousy between. If you're going to have two people that are doing the same thing, when you have the starting quarterback gets injured and someone else steps up and he's playing well, then it always creates the fan base starts screaming about who's going to be the Kohen Gadol. So the Kohen Gadol, if you're going to have two people serving as Kohen Gadol, it's impossible to do that because it's just going to generate animosity. It's going to generate hatred that's going on between the people.
Who chooses the Kohen Gadol? Is it like a...
So that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I was thinking about that. I'm not sure who. Well, actually, I'll say this. No, there is. We're going to get. I don't think we're getting to it today. Tomorrow we're going to get. There's a story that's going to be where Shimon HaTzadik, who was a Kohen Gadol, appointed his son to be the Kohen. So I'm not sure. It may continue on. Later on, it says that they used to buy the Kohen Gadol. They would They would buy the Kohen Gadol. They would buy it as a position. Whoever gave the most money would be appointed, and then they'd go in and like it was a temporary thing because they'd go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim and they'd drop dead because they weren't fit to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
I looked it up also once. It's a very interesting question. I seem to recall there's a lot of opinions on it and methods, but there's definitely they use the Urim V'Tumim. Something they saw.
But once it was
done the right way.
Right, but once it was hidden away and they didn't have it anymore, so what do they do then?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's probably when this monkey business.
So we're going to get to the story where Shimon. There definitely were times where again Shimon HaTzadik, who was a Kohen Gadol, did appoint his son, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So there were times that there were appointments that were made, but I was thinking of that and I didn't find a good answer on it. But the Urim V'Tumim, once it's not available,
as well as there's some. I'm trying to remember. There's some yichus issues.
Right, so it may carry on son after son, but even if he wasn't fitting to be the Kohen Gadol,
he wasn't voted in. It was
either
through inheritance or
they would buy the position. But I'll try to find out more about it. So we say that Kohen, and he can't be a Kohen Hedyo. Why? Because there's a concept that you only go up in Kedusha, you don't go down in Kedusha. So once he served as a Kohen Gadol, you can't put him back down as a Kohen Hedyo because it's just not fitting for him to do it. Because again, this concept that you only go up in holiness, you don't go down. So the Gemara says, Reish Rabbanan v'Sefer Rab Meir. So you're going to say that the Reish was Rabbanan who said that he's not able, that there's no difference except for this carbon, and the Sefer is going to be Rab Meir, who says that you are able to bring the carbon. Gemara answers, Am Rav Chizda, and yeah, it is. Reish Rabbanan v'Sefer Rab Meir. Yeah, one is the opinion of the Rabbanan, one is the opinion of Rab Meir, and Rabbi Yosef Omer, Rabbi he that. No, our Mishnah was not going like Rab Meir and like the Rabbanan and Rab Meir. Really, it was Rabbi that was doing it. And he just said it. He was saying it was really Rebbe all along, and he was just explaining it according to the view of different Tanaim. So that's more because he was humble. He didn't want to take he didn't want to name himself, but really it's just Rebbe's opinion. Okay, so that's it for that Mishnah. Next Mishnah is talking about the concept of Bama now. So the Bama there was a concept that a Bama was basically a Mizbeach. Okay, you were able to have everyone could have a private. In the days when you were able to do it, you could go in your backyard. You could have a bama, which means it means a high place, and you could bring a carbon. If you had certain types of carbonos, you could bring in your backyard if you wanted to. So the Mishnah is going to tell the difference between what's called the bama gedola and the bama katana. So the Mishnah says, and the bama could only be around. You could only have a bama katana when there wasn't a Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan in existence. Well, when the Mishkan was in a set place. Like the Mishkan was in Shiloh for 369 years. So when the Mishkan was in Shiloh, or when the Mishkan was in the Midbar for 39 years, or when the Beis Hamikdash was around, you could not have a Bama Katana during those times. Okay, so you could either have a Bama Gedola when the Beis Hamikdash was not around, or when the Mishkan was in a temporary place. You could have a Bama Katana when the Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan were not around, and when it was around, you could only have this Bama Gedola. You didn't have a Bama Katana. So the Mishnah says, "Ein bein bama gedola le bama katana ella psachim." That the only difference between the bama gedola and the bama katana is the carbon pesach, which the Gemara is going to talk about that. Zeh aklal kalshu nidav v'nidav karib b'bama. Anything which is either like a neder or a nidava. Again, like we spoke about last week, hari alai carbon or hari zu carbon. So anything where he's making where it's a neder or a nidava, that you're able to bring. Is brought in a bama, and v'chol eno lo nidav eno karb bama, but something which is either it's carbon tzibor, or if it's something that is a carbon that is a zman kavur, that has a set time that it can be brought, or if you have something that is it's a chova, that it was obligatory that you had to bring it. If it was one of those types of carbons, then you couldn't bring it on a small bama. You had to bring it on the mizbeach. You had to bring it by the Beis Hamikdash or by the Mishkan. So Gemara says, Psachim is, so the Mishnah said there's no difference except for the carbon Pesach. So Gemara says, Psachim is Sulo, is it only the carbon Pesach? Is the only carbon that you're not, that's the only difference? There's other carbonos that are like that also. So Gemara says, Eima ke'em Psachim. No, it means that just like the carbon Pesach, that can be brought only on the quote-unquote big Bama, like by the Beis HaMikdash and the Mishkan, and not in a small one. For example, like the carbon Tamid, which has a set time that was brought on a daily basis. It was a carbon of the tzibor. If you have for Yom Tif, for Rosh Chodesh, you would have the carbon Musaf, for the carbonos that would come for Yom Tif. Those are all carbon tzibor. Those would have to be brought by the Mishkan or by the Beis HaMikdash, by the big one. And if it was brought by by a small one, you're not able to do that. So Gemara says, Mani, who's this Mishnah going like? Reb Shimon, the Tanya, we learned, Reb Shimon Omer, Af Tzibur, Lo Hikrivu, El Psachim, Bechovash, Kavu, El Hamzman, that the Tzibur would only bring the carbon Pesach, or like we're saying, a carbon Chova, or something that has a set time to be able to bring it. Aval Chova, She'en Kavu, El Hamzman, Hachav Hacha Lo Kar, but you're not able to do it if it doesn't have a set time. So again, that's the end of that, but just, that's the end of that Mishnah, and then we're going to, let's start the next Mishnah, because starting Thursday, we're going to start getting to, if you look at Yoram Abayz, we start getting into Agada to Gemara for like the next 6 blot. It's going to be very long blot, so I'm just trying to move a little bit ahead a little bit on the Amud. So the next Mishnah is talking about the difference between the Mishkan that was in Shiloh and the Mishkan that was in the Beis HaMikdash. So the Mishnah says, Ein ben Shiloh Yerushalayim. There's no difference between the halachos that pertain to the Mishkan versus that which was in the Beis HaMikdash. Ela shebeshilo ochlim kachim kalim u'ma'ishu sheni b'chol haroa. That in Shiloh you're able to eat kachim kalim, which are the minor karbanos. And you would be able to eat, as long as you could see Shiloh, you'd be able to eat these things, even if you could just see Shiloh. And Yerushalayim, Lifnim and Achoma, and Yerushalayim, you could only eat it if you were within the walls of Yerushalayim. That's when you'd be able to eat it. Even though they were both housing the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash, even though they're both housing the Mishkan, but in Shiloh, as long as you could see the city, you were able to eat it. And in Yerushalayim, which was a smaller area, it would only be within the walls. But both, whether you were in Shiloh or in Yerushalayim, then kachim had to be eaten within it says within the curtains, but it really means within the walls of either of the Beis HaMikdash or the curtains that they had in the Mishkan. And Kedusha Shiloh, turning to Yud Amud Aleph, Yesh Acharei Heter, once Shiloh was no longer standing, then afterwards you were able to start using a bama again, okay? And Kedusha Yerushalayim and Acharei Heter, but once the Kedusha that you have in Yerushalayim, once they built the Beis HaMikdash, after that you were no longer able to use a bama, which is, we're going to get into a discussion on Yud Amud Aleph, which is going to be talking about if Kedusha, the Kedusha Rishon, the Kedusha L'Shaita, or is the loss of love. Do you say that when Yerushalayim became Kadosh, when it became holy, do you say that it was temporary until the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed? Or do you say that no, even after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, that it's still going to go on forever? Just before we finish, I'll just say that I was listening to one of the shurim. Someone said that they did an archaeological dig in Shiloh, and it says that as long as you could see Shiloh, then you were able to eat, and if you couldn't see Shiloh, then you would. But if you couldn't see the city, you wouldn't be able to eat. And Yerushalayim has to be within the walls. They said that they did a dig by Shiloh, and they found hundreds or thousands of broken pottery, which was like on the way that Shiloh is built, it's like on the top of the hill, and then beyond it, and the front half where you could see it from the hill, they found all this pottery there, and beyond it, there's nothing there. And the reason why is because after they would eat the kachim kalim, the dishes would become tamei, and earthenware vessels could never be kosher. You can't be tovel them. The only way that you don't think you can do with them is destroy them. So they say that they were able to see Shiloh from the front half of the hill, and beyond the hill they didn't find anything, which I just thought was very interesting. Okay, we will continue tomorrow night.